understanding about our humanness, but we are also divine. We are fully human. We are also fully divine. And it's from that place of our full divinity that we understand the power of forgiveness. And that's what I'd like to speak about today. I like to think of that divinity that we are as being the very best of us. The very best of us. Sometimes we talk about that best of us in terms of being the Christ within us. The Christ is not only Jesus, the man who walked the Holy Land 2,000 years ago, but more importantly for us, the Christ is that divinity within us that longs to express in this world, particularly in a way that we're talking about today, the way of forgiveness. So I'd like to say what I think is succinctly what I most want you to take away today. And here it is. The best you that you can be welcomes forgiveness, forgives, and models it with compassion. Let me say that once again. The best you that you can be welcomes forgiveness, forgives, and models it with compassion. We'll talk about divine forgiveness. If you remember from the weeks preceding, we're using the physical senses as a gateway to an understanding of forgiveness. And today, the sense that we're focusing on is touch. Touch is something we're very familiar with and sometimes is very comfortable, as the Daily Word said. But this physical sense is the gateway to the touch of the divine. So we'll speak about that. We'll also talk about allowing that divine touch to flow through us, almost like through a conduit, and outward into those around us, and in fact, into the world. And we'll also talk about being that divine touch. So three things: allowing the touch of the divine, being a conduit for the touch of the divine, and then being the divine. So if we think from the perspective of the divine, you may use any term that you use. It could be God, it could be one that I love, particularly all that is. When I think of the divine, I think of all that is. So when we think from that perspective and we think about forgiveness, I'm just going to tell you where I come from. Where I come from is there is nothing really to forgive. Forgiveness is a human sort of thing. But from the divine perspective, there is nothing to forgive because there is no blame, there is no punishment, there is no judgment of some God sitting up there in the clouds someplace. But in fact, it is a blameless situation. It is a loving situation. It is a non-judging situation. And that's the way I believe the divine perspective is shown. And it's shown through a very tender sense of touch. We are touched by the divine. This is an example of this is shown in the scripture in Mark chapter 5. A woman is healed and a girl is restored. In this Mark 5 chapter, 2 stories of healing with Jesus, and we certainly don't know all of the details, but it's interesting to me that touch shows up in this healing, and that healing is often correlated with forgiveness. Let me read just a little bit. You'll remember the story perhaps. The woman that, or the girl who was restored was the daughter of a man named Jairus. And here's what Mark 5 relates to us. Jairus came, and when he saw him, that being Jesus, the Christ that expressed as the person of Jesus, he fell at his feet and begged him repeatedly, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be well and live. Lay your hands on her. That's a sense of touch, that warm expression of life. And then the other story is about the woman who had been ill with a hemorrhage for a long time. And here's what Mark continues to say. Now, there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. She said, if I but touch his clothes, I will be made well. So that warm-hearted sense of touch can be associated with divine forgiveness, touched by the divine. We've all probably seen an episode or two of that series, Touched by an Angel. That's only a little bit of a sense of what the touch of the divine can mean for us. And when we are touched by that divine, I'm sure you've had an experience of that. Suddenly, just the obstructions went away, and through what came through was a divine touch. Perhaps it was about forgiveness, perhaps it was about any aspect of your life, but that divine touch came through. When we think of forgiveness, however, the first thing that we have in response is to allow that forgiveness. And sometimes it's so difficult to allow that forgiveness. We have to do a couple of things if we're really to work through this. We have to acknowledge the mistake, not the sin, not the event that we engaged in that we blame ourselves for, or we judge ourselves for, or someone else, but in fact, that mistake that we have made. We acknowledge that, but we don't stay there. We move on then. We move on to perhaps making amends. Many of you may have connected at one point or another with a 12-step program, and we know how important that is to make amends. And that's something we can do to conduct this forgiveness process in a way that's truly effective. And then, even though it may be some other person that we're thinking about that hurt us or wronged us, or so we think, we have to forgive ourselves, because it's very likely that if we hold some sort of resentment against someone else, we're also looking back at ourselves and saying, what didn't I do that I could have done? What did I do wrong for this to happen? So that self-forgiveness is a necessary thing. And in all of this, the touch of the divine is there for us. Often it's found in quiet, in meditation, in prayer. And we open ourselves and allow that divine touch, the touch of divine forgiveness. Then we're going to get through the process. Then we may need to come back and review that again, certainly because forgiveness is a process. But divine touch comes to us. Not that we're separate from the divine, because as we've already said, we're not. But that we connect in a very real way with the divine to be able to experience and allow that forgiveness. Then remember what we talked about, the best you that you can be welcomes forgiveness. That's what we've spoken of as we've talking about divine touch being that forgiveness that comes to us. Seems it like it's coming from afar, but it's really coming from the divine within us. Then we get to the point where divine touch is something that we allow to flow through us. We can be conduits, we can be channels for that divine touch. We can evidence the spirit of forgiveness that is the divine, remembering the divine within us. We can evidence that spirit. What we do often for that, both for ourselves and for someone else, is to declare the debt to be canceled. Often we when we resent someone, or when they resent us, when they've hurt us, when we blame them, any of these, it's like a debt that is there. And we can be agents for the forgiveness of that debt as we allow the Spirit of divine forgiveness to flow through us. I want to tell you a little bit of a story from my past that came to me very clearly. In fact, it came to me the other morning when we were talking about grace in Morning Cafe. But I want to relate it again. If you've heard it once, you're going to get to hear it again. When I was in my 20s, I chose to live in a spiritual community that was 3 households, a total of about 35 people who lived together. And we experimented about community and having things in common and advancing our spiritual journey through that community. Well, I wanted to know a little bit more about that. So I went to visit a very established community in Houston, Texas. It was a community called the Church of the Redeemer, an Episcopal church, a charismatic Episcopal church. Kind of was different than anything I had known about Episcopalians. And when I went to visit that community, they invited me and welcomed me, and I became part of one of many extended households in that community. Some of those big old houses in Houston housed these communities, and there were as many as 20 people in those communities, and they viewed them as healing households. Well, the household into which I was invited was, I won't say, was led, that's the best term, led by a household head named Paul Patton. The name sounds familiar, and in fact, he was the nephew of General Patton. And he had a lot of the characteristics of his uncle. He was very strong, very assertive, very direct. And I was a little bit scared of him. Being scared, I went with the program. I experienced the community that was there. I experienced the healing that was available in that context. But after about a month, it was so structured that I couldn't take it anymore. I decided I have to leave, and I was so scared about talking with Paul Patton and saying I have to leave. I was feeling guilty before he had even judged me. And when I talked to him, he was so kind and compassionate. And he said, there's no judgment of that. That's what you need to do. No judgment at all. So I love you and I bless you on your way. Wow, it was a weight lifted from me. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that release that came with the Spirit of forgiveness flowing through him to allow me to experience forgiveness of myself, because I was feeling guilty, but I had the opportunity to let that go and to feel free again. He was in fact a divine liberation agent for me, and I'm suggesting that we too can be a divine liberation agent for ourselves and others as we practice forgiveness, that canceling of the debt. One other way that we're looking at this is that we in fact are divine, and we are divine touch that can be extended to those around us, to those in our community, really to the world, because we do this often energetically. And I'd like to suggest that this is a way to model non-judgment as we learn to refrain from judgment, as we learn to drop the resentments, the grievances. We become models of that. And it's not like we have to tell everybody how to do it. Just that modeling is something that being the divine in the world means. So I really love something that Donna pointed me to She mentioned when she was reading the metaphysical moment, or giving us the metaphysical moment, that she had been reading Eric Butterworth. Eric Butterworth is one of the great Unity writers, and his book that Discover the Power Within You. If you've never had a chance to open that, do take a chance to find that book and open it. It's full of many truths in such a way that they're really accessible. And he talks in that book about the word namaskar. We all know namaste. We put our hands together and bow to each other when we say namaste, the Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. Namaskar is only slightly different. And here's what Eric Butterworth has to say about that Sanskrit word that's somehow come into our language as well. Namaskar, he says, I salute the divinity in myself. He said it again, I salute the divinity in myself. I am strong and able. I can do all that I need to do this day. Oops, let me get my cards. My mind is alert, my body is vital and healthy, and my way will be strewn with golden opportunities. No matter what this day will bring to me, there is that in me that is great enough to meet it, overcome it, and be blessed by it. And then I've added a little something to that statement because it relates so clearly to forgiveness. I forgive readily and completely, and I am free. Namaskar. I've given that to you, and Tom, if you can you get that up for us?
I guess not.
Okay. For those of you who are here in person, you have that in your hand because I've given it to you as a handout. For those of you who did not get it because Tom is having difficulty in sharing it, the technical glitch prevents us from doing so. But I will take note of those of you who are with us online, and I will email you that that quote from Eric Butterworth about namaskar. So how do we be the divine in this world? How do we be the very divine forgiveness that both we and others around us and the world is need? I think the key to it is that we make that forgiveness a practice. It's not something we say, let's do it once and get it done, because it may tend to come up again. So we practice that forgiveness. If you've had an opportunity to attend the class that we do at 1 o'clock on Sundays that matches this message, you'll understand that we're talking about the practice of forgiveness, a track that we can use to move forward, to be the divine that we are. If you've not joined us yet, I invite you to join us on Zoom at 1 o'clock today, because we'll discuss this a little bit more deeply. In a word, there's a couple of things. There's that letting go, that practice of letting go. Man, that's one to work at and work at and work at. The more we let go, the freer we are. The more we let go, the more we free others. And then there's the idea of exhibiting compassion. When we read the words of the Dalai Lama, that just comes right through very strongly. Compassion is more, we were talking earlier about his latest book, Beyond Religion. It's more than religion. It's a spiritual capability that we have, and we learn to practice compassion. Of course, we won't do it if we're not aware of it. We won't do it if we don't give our attention to it. So I encourage you to do so. And in doing so, you become a gift to the world. We talked about divine forgiveness and how we are touched by the divine. We talked about being a conduit for divine forgiveness to flow through us and to bless both us and others as well. And then we talked about just actually being divine forgiveness. So often we talk about what we do. Being that is probably the most powerful thing that we possibly can do. So let me say again, this truth that I believe we can take away today. The best you that you can be welcomes forgiveness, forgives, and models it with compassion. Let's go back to the beginning when we talked about all that is being this all-encompassing gem of which we are a sparkle. We're attached to that. We talked about it being the Christ within us that allows that to happen. Well, I'd like to suggest that today we can realize the truth of that as it resonates with us and begin the track of the practice of forgiveness. We are made, as we often say, in the image and likeness of the divine. That's within us. That's available to us. So we are that single facet of divinity that's unique, but at the same time connected without question to the divine. So I challenge you today to look at forgiveness as something that is the touch of the divine from all that is, through each of us, and as each of us. And so it is. I'd like to just go on now and take us through a little bit of quiet reflection and meditation as we bring this in. So would you just for a moment take time to breathe, to even allow the mental consideration of the words that I've given to be set aside for a moment. So as you breathe, be here and know that it is only now that we have. As in the quiet, we consider these things and let the words that I say be your words as well. The divine is all encompassing, bigger than we can even conceive of, all encompassing. The divine is by its very nature goodness, complete goodness. We are expressions of that divine. We, when we think of that gem, are the sparkle of a unique facet of one of the diamonds that is connected to that grand sense of all that is. And so in the quiet, we consider our own divinity. It's there for us. It won't go away. We can't dampen it. We can't eliminate it from our lives. We are fully human, of course, but we are fully divine as well. Bask in that divinity that you are. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Just bask in it. Knowing that the goodness of all that is can be expressed in you, through you, and as you in this world. So take a moment to consider how you connect with this truth. In the quiet, we know that we can become the best you that we can be. We can become the best Christ that we can be. And so we claim that. We claim that offer of the divine to us, to address all of the judgments and resentments and grievances and grudges that we may have had. We take the embrace of the divine to ourselves, and we do so for a few minutes in the quiet. Allow yourself to feel the embrace of the divine, and that may show up as your embrace of yourself. Allow yourself to unblock anything that inhibits the flow of divine grace, the grace of forgiveness flowing through you. And get a vision of the divine that does not judge, does not remember a fault or a misstep. And know that you are that divine, waiting to be expressed more and more fully as you become the very best you that you can become. And so we bring our attention and our awareness back to this time, this place. We open our eyes, perhaps wiggle our fingers and toes as we continue our reflection of this truth with the meditation song.
Meditation song, You Are the Face of God, Karen Drucker.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. Tu es l'image de Dieu. I hold you in my heart. Tu es l'image de l'amour. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. Tu sei la luce di Dio. I hold you in my heart. Tu sei il volto dell'amore. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of God. The face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God.
Eres la luz de Dios.
I hold you in my heart.
Eres la cara del amor.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
Yes, you are the face of God. Now is the time we share our gifts and our offerings. Unity of Payson appreciates your gifts in support of this ministry. Your gifts support our spiritual community, and they also go out to the larger community. As you listen to the offering song, you'll have time to make a contribution. The offering baskets will be passed in person in Payson. If you're attending virtually, the information for giving is on the slides. You go to unityofpayson.org and click on the donate/support button. So now let's bring our attention to our gift at this time. And let's call to mind our heart's desires. And together, let's affirm. Freely we give, and freely we receive. Perfect Work of Art is our offertory song.
Oh, the sculptor Michelangelo was asked how he got in the flow and made the lovely David from a giant block of stone. He said, well, he was in there waiting. My job was simply excavating. I just took away what did not belong. And I know somewhere not so deep inside of me lives that perfect soul that I was meant to be. Let me be the way I was created. Let me find a pure and simple heart. I'll chip away all jealousy and hatred and reveal God's perfect work of art. Well, I think we're born on angels' wings. Heaven sends such graceful things, like love without condition, knowing we are not alone. Then descends the soul's dark night, shadows come and block the light, and as the years go by, we but the real me is crying to come out. Let me be the way I was created. Let me find a pure and simple heart. I'll chip away all jealousy and hatred and reveal God's perfect work of art. I'll reveal God's perfect work of art.
All right. Now it is time for the dedication of our offering. We're grateful for the gifts and we're grateful for the givers. We bless these gifts and we bless the givers. As we say together, divine love through us blesses and multiplies all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. We are abundantly prosperous, and we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. At this time, before I read the announcements and talk about the the theme for next month, I would like to take some time to acknowledge the prayers that we've received, the prayer chaplains that have received prayers for Unity of Payson. And Reverend Neal has the prayer box close to his heart. And I wanted to say a prayer for all of the prayers that we've received. And at the same time, I will be looking at my screen where I have all of the prayer requests and the names of those who have made the requests. And so at this time, let's call upon the source of creation, the source of our being, as we affirm divine order, divine life, divine health and healing, divine strength, divine will, and divine power. For all who have requested prayers, we see the divinity in them and in those that they have shared their love for. And we are grateful, and we say, Amen, Amen, Amen. And so it is. Thank you. So now I will come back to next Sunday's speaker. It will be Reverend Neal Worthington. And the new theme for March is Finding Faith. And Reverend Neal's talk title is From Despair to Doubt to Hope. So I will share a few announcements with you today, but there are many things happening at Unity of Payson. Please check the website. Again, that's unityofpayson.org, or the Monday email newsletter for all of the details. Let's see. We have Morning Cafe Monday through Saturday at 9:30 a.m. We typically read the Daily Word or something inspiring and have a discussion about it to start our day. We have Qigong, Tai Chi moving meditation with Teresa. That's going to be today at 4:30 p.m. every Sunday and Wednesday. Right at 4:30 we start, and that's on the Zoom channel at unityofpayson.org. Tomorrow we have Happy Hour Humor and Heroes with our host, Rick Hinkie. How many H's are there? And that's from 4:30 to 5:30 on the second and fourth Mondays. Tuesday, which is March 1st already, we have A Course in Miracles at 6 p.m. But before that, we also have Nonviolent Communication as a Spiritual Practice at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I'm going to say, please join us on the Zoom channel. If you haven't joined us before, there is a donation of $10 per class, and you can donate that through unityofpayson.org at events registration. And we also have Let's Play Cards and Games every Thursday with our host, Kay, and that's at 1 to 3 p.m. Kay, would you like to say something? You are muted.
There we go. There we go. Okay, just come. We have a good time. If you let me know you're coming so I can set up an extra card table. But it's great. We laugh, we play, we have simple games, simple cards, and we're all looking forward to getting together. Yay!
Thank you. And we also have The Gathering, which is a spiritual knowledge sharing at Kay's every Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. This is an informal, interactive group activity exploring various spiritual insights to expand our understanding of the divine. Please RSVP for Kay to confirm attendance. The phone number is on the screen. Yes, ma'am.
I can only have 12 people, so it is vitally important that you pre-register. Call me and let me know that you're coming. So
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, and now we have a PS from Neal, and I invite anyone who would like to be greeted by Neal to stay on for after the PS and after the peace song. Thank you.
Yes, please do hang around just a little bit if you're here in person, and allow me to greet people who are online. If you're online, just stay, because I would love to greet you personally, and I will look forward to it. I would just mention again, as I mentioned during the message, that at 1 o'clock today, the last class on the practice of forgiveness is available. We didn't have that in the announcements, but you would be welcome to join that class, even if you have not attended any of the prior classes, because we'll wrap some things up, and I think you'll find some value in that. We are generally trying to get people to register for events or to RSVP. Please do that. As Kay suggested, it really helps us to plan for the events. So thank you so much for that. That's all that I have. We'll move now to our closing with the peace song and the prayer for protection. If you're here in person, will you stand with me? You don't have to stand if you're here virtually, but you can. And we'll go to the peace song.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that is meant to be with God as Creator. Family are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes,
protection.
The light of God surrounds us. I am light.
The
The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Thank you for being here. And if you're online, hang with us for a minute. I want to get the gallery view so that I can see you as well as speaking with you whenever we can do it. So just hang for a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and speak Tom's iPad. I think that's Kathy Hicken. Kathy, you are so faithful and helpful in the gathering and the planning of that. Something new that started. I'm so glad you're here. Kay, we have two Ks. Kay Adams or Kay Butler, I'm not sure who that is. I'm reading, I'm not looking. But both of you are key to our community, and I'm so grateful you're here. Joy from Colorado is with us. Joy. I'm so joyful.
Hello.
To see you
Hello.
this morning. Frosty down in from Texas. Gene, I'm glad to see you. And so I am so grateful again that you're with us. If you can, join us for any of the activities during the week, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Bye for now.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Frosty. Good to see you.
Yeah.
I guess you don't see the chats. I chatted you, but I don't know if you see the chats.
No, I didn't. I don't. I'm
I'll
sorry.
email you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hi, Joy.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Joy.
Hello. Nice to say hello to you all.
Yeah.